Hey there, coaches. I'm Rich Prado, owner of Play in School and host of Travel Ball Talk, where I talk to travel ball coaches from the best organizations about the current and future state of travel baseball. Today's call features Todd Stein and David Wiggins from Recruits Baseball in St. Louis. Two huge takeaways for me is how they made the shift from one-on-one lessons to group training at their facility, and how utilizing a variety of apps and technology actually created an incredible opportunity from the standpoint of accountability. I hope you enjoy this episode of Travel Ball Talk. All right, welcome back to another episode of Travel Ball Talk. We're heading back out to St. Louis, Missouri. Apparently, St. Louis is a big baseball town. I'm finding out more and more about St. Louis, and turns out everybody's into baseball out there. Today we're visiting with the Recruits Baseball founder, owner Todd Stein, and his right hand man Dave Wiggins. Guys, welcome to Travel Ball Talk. How you doing?
We're doing great. Thanks for having us on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
So for clarity, so we know who we're talking to. Todd, why don't you go first and just, you're the owner, founder. Maybe give us a little perspective of kind of where you were in life when you started the Recruits, and how that came to be. How did you get into this baseball business?
I've always been involved with baseball in St. Louis. I played since I was little. I'm from the St. Louis area. I grew up here. I played Little League here. I went to high school here. I played my college ball at Illinois State, in the Missouri Valley. So there was a lot of, traveling, playing in Missouri and around around this area. When I was done playing minor league baseball, I didn't know what else to do other than continue to teach the game that I loved and was passionate about, and that's kind of how we all started.
And David, where are you from? The same area? Give us a little bit of the quick background.
Yeah, absolutely. I played my high school ball at Webster Groves High School. Went to a small NAIA school, Colnish Stockton, up in northeast Missouri, and spent a year or two there, and then finished up playing at Maryville University, right in the heart of St. Louis. So, both of us have a big passion for the St. Louis area and working with kids in that area, and just trying to make baseball fun and as informational and fun as it can be for these kids.
Now, how far back does y'all's relationship go?
Oh, heck, we met when Dave was in college. Dave is my little brother's age, and they played high school ball against each other and summer ball with and against each other ever since they were little. So,
yeah,
I'm the old man. They're 4 years behind me, but I guess Dave and my brother knew each other before Dave and I knew each other. But Dave and I ended up crossing paths when he was in college, and the college coach at Maryville was a friend of mine, and I actually played a little minor league ball with their pitching coach at the time. That's kind of how we all met, I guess.
Todd, since I've known him, has always had a heart for the college pitcher. He will go. He'll do anything for those guys. He gave me probably 3 to 5 lessons at no charge. A couple of the other pitchers at Maryville he would work with. Still to this day, the college guys that come in our facility, Todd is with them a lot of the time. He's working with them, and he really doesn't expect anything in return. It's really just him, trying to help those guys be as good as they can be at the collegiate level. And I
a lot
saw
of
that
guys that have come through our program.
Yeah.
A lot of guys that have come through our program. Some of the kids that, we were looking, my oldest son is now 8, and his little group of guys practices, right after or right before our 16-year-olds come in, and the parents were kind of watching the 16-year-olds practice, and our 16-year-old team is solid. There's some kids on the team with Division I offers already, and it's a really good group. But some of the younger parents were asking us, how do these guys get so good? What do they do? Well, they've been with us since they were 9 and 10 years old. Some of the kids it's the 6th or 7th year in the program. So a lot of the kids have a special place in our hearts. They've been around so long, and they put a lot of faith and trust in us to help them reach their goals, and it's something that we take seriously. It doesn't just end when they're done playing for us in high school. It continues.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love hearing stories like that.
And a lot of the guys, a lot of our former players coach with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool hearing about, and we've all seen that when the little guys are watching the big guys work. But it's also cool seeing the parents of the little guys watching the big guys work, right? Because it's like, there's a big shift between, just what can happen in 60 minutes with the little guys versus the amount of
right.
the intensity, the quantity of reps that an older player can get through in the same amount of time is incredible. Let's go back.
We're finally to the point where, we've got a lot of these homegrown guys that are, they're 15, 16, 17 years old, and we're starting to see, how much they really have developed throughout the program. And that's a really cool thing to see when you've seen a kid since he was 10 years old and how far he's developed from then. And, it's basically because he's lived in your facility for the last 6 years. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Hey, let's go back a little bit in time to when maybe right before Todd started the program. What were you doing, and what motivated you to start recruits? And was it the teams first or the facility first, or were they in conjunction with each other? Talk to me about that moment, and if you can remember what year that was or whatever, take us back to that. Where you were.
I was in a place in my life where I was kind of lost. I was always a player, and I was in the Diamondback system. I got released. I played a little bit of independent ball, and it just, to try to make it back into the minor league system just wasn't really in the cards for me. And the one thing that I'd always done is great in baseball facilities, and I mean, heck, my mom and dad had me in baseball lessons since I was a little kid. I'd always done it. I've always taught. My little brother, I'd always kind of worked with, him and his team and guys that age. And heck, I mean, when I was in college, I would always, give pitching lessons out of my basement or do them at school or in the summer or, whatever. And it just kind of seemed like a natural progression, for me. And, I rented a facility in Valley Park, put some turf up, hung up some lights, and started teaching pitching. And, did that for, I guess a year and a half or so. And the teams just kind of, they just kind of started. There wasn't really one specific thing that, I can tell you started our first year. We had two teams. We had a 13U team and a 15U team. And, we did a little tryout and, picked some kids. And the next year we grew to 3 teams and so on and so forth. We've always tried to, keep it at, a number of teams that's manageable for us. I mean, our staff, we're really into baseball development and helping the kids, learn the game the right way and the skills and all that stuff. And we always just kind of figured that it was, really people are paying for us. They're not paying for a parent coach. They're not paying for some other instructor. They're paying for us. Mm-hmm. So, we try to keep it at a group and the size and have a facility that, can accommodate all of our players' needs. And I mean, we have the best staff around. I mean, I truly believe that our pitching program is the best you can find. Our hitting guy is fantastic. Our strength and conditioning. Heck, Cam does a lot of our strength and conditioning, but we also use Interpro, which is it's a fantastic app. The kids get on it, and
we're going to talk. We'll talk about that in a minute. Let's
cool.
Definitely put a pin in that. And we'll bring that back up. I want to hear about that experience specifically.
And then our catching instructors are fantastic. So. We try to keep it at a manageable group, a manageable size. We want to make sure that all the kids, get to spend enough time with us to, reach their goals, and we just kind of went from there.
Hey, Todd, I heard all of that, but you were coming in and out just a little bit, so just be mindful of covering your mic. Let's go to David. Let's go to David for a second. So Todd has this place. He threw some lights up and probably put some mounds down, and he's getting this thing going way back when. At what point in time did you come into the picture from transitioning from taking lessons with him to working alongside with him?
Yeah, I was fresh out of college, and I had a history degree. Didn't have a teaching certification, so I didn't know what the heck I was going to do. So I was just substitute teaching in the Webster Groves School District, the one that I grew up in, and I got in contact with an individual who had who was building a summer organization, club, what have you. Started doing some lessons for him, and ended up coaching his 18 and under squad. I'm keeping names out of it because it wasn't a great experience. But long story short, I coached his 18s all summer long, and he needed someone to coach his 16s one weekend, and I ran into this new organization called the Recruits, and turns out that Todd Stein was the one who had started it, and I'm standing across the field from him, and both our teams were pretty good, especially for being two startup teams. We had some really talented players on both sides, and we were playing a good, tough game. And, at the end, Todd was just kind of chatting with me and asking how things were going. And I was just kind of telling him how much of a nightmare that summer was for me, and all the hard work I'd put in, and the little compensation that I'd received. And he's like, man, bring all those guys over, let's do this together. Come help me build a program, bring your 18s over, bring as many 16s over, and let's do this thing the right way. And, from then on, I was like, yeah, excellent. So I went and checked his facility out. He immediately got me set up with lessons. 2 weeks later, I was managing the facility. So, here I am getting to answer every single phone call that comes in. And he told me, he's like, whoever calls, if you want them, take them. And I was able to build my lesson book up really, really quickly. Basically right into the fire. And, pretty much everything that I've learned pitching wise, throwing wise, has come from Todd. He's been, he was the one who basically taught me how to give pitching lessons. I'd bounce things off him. He would bounce things off me. And now we're to the point where, we work so well together that, it's so easy for us to run this program. If one of us is gone for something, the other guy just steps right in. If we're both there, we're just in, we're in perfect harmony with pretty much everything that we say, do, and teach. So it's been easy. It really has.
That's cool. Now I've been on the website, and first of all, I got to tell you, it's a great looking website. This looks like it was a custom job. I'm on it right now. I see a lot of beautiful websites done by my friends at League Apps, but this looks like a custom job. I don't see League Apps logo on here anywhere. Was this a local guy who developed this for you?
It was a family,
yeah.
A family that they're called Hot Lava Media.
Cool.
Larry Noble built that website for us. Oh, I guess we've had it for maybe a year. He's constantly helping us update it and redo some things and add, his new, widgets or whatever comes out for it. He typically helps us and plugs them in and shows us how we can utilize them.
Well,
so on and so forth.
You nailed it. It's like when you think you're done with a website, you have to update it.
You're not.
That's just how it works. But it's currently a really good looking website. If you don't update it for 5 years, it's going to not look so good in 5 years. But right now, I like it a lot. And
thank you. I appreciate it.
I see a few things here. I'm seeing there is a spot that discusses private lessons, but then there's a whole slot that's talking about your training. And that's what I want to get into. I want to I know you guys are huge on sort of that group lesson model. So I'd like to hear about that. Obviously from the website, you're still doing some private lessons because I know, there's still moms and dads who want that. But talk to me about the sort of the.
We do a few private lessons, but they're few and far between because it's just not the best option. And, right. It's not the best option, simply because you come in, okay, cool, here's your 30-minute time slot, leave your money on the desk, see you next week. That's not what kids need to develop. And the whole goal of going to the group lessons is to take the time element out of it, because when the kids come in, it's going to take as long as it takes for them to get through their program that day, do what we're doing, completely understand it, and feel good about what they're doing, before they leave. And with a 30-minute time slot, you can really warm up in time, to do anything productive in our opinion. So, that was really the driving force behind it, I guess.
Let's go up a level here, because just from that short description, I'm picking up it's not even really group lessons. It's not like, hey, 5 kids are coming in from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock, is it? It's something completely different. How do y'all structure? For example, your it's called elite pitching development. I think you guys call that the EPD. How do y'all structure that? What's it look like? And then how does a kid work through that?
So kids come when a kid comes in to sign up for the program, we take them through an assessment and we look at their mechanics. We do some slow motion video. We get some information and data on all the pitches that they're throwing. We make sure that their body's working right. We put them through a little, making sure that their arms are in the right way and their elbow flexion and their shoulder internal external rotation and their hips and everything. And then, we start chomping away at their goals and what they want to work on. Every time they come in, there's a full warm up. It's a full body thing that, I don't know, what does it take, Dave? 20 minutes? At least to get a full warm up in.
We do, we're trying to get their bodies prepared to throw, right? So, we're doing a mobility workout or a mobility warm up where they're stretching their hips and their hamstrings, and these are dynamic movements. And then we have some med ball drills for them to do long before they ever throw a projectile. Go ahead.
There's drill work that they transition into from there. And it depends on the time of year. Mm-hmm. We do stuff with medicine balls. We do stuff with, on our plyo care wall with tap balls. We do command and control work. We do mind work. We do velocity training. And then when they're done, they always have their arm care. And it's a build up, from when they start to, getting ready for their season and being able to carry it on into the summer and, so on and so forth. And every program, every kid's individual and have different, needs and goals and, things that they're working on at the moment, and have different needs in their training protocols and stuff like that too. So it really is an individualized program and designed to fit each kid's, specific needs, if you will.
Well, and the end goal here is for them to be successful in a game setting. And a lot of your traditional lesson models are, have the kid play catch for 5 to 10 minutes, get them on the mound, and then stand there and tell them what to do every pitch. Tell them, hey, that was good, that was bad, do this, do that. Yeah. That never happens in a game. So now you're building someone up to be codependent on another individual who, quote unquote, knows more than them, who knows how to make them better. But then when they get in the game and they're in a adverse situation, like a hitter in the box, an umpire who's going to call their strike a ball, blah, blah, blah. Now they don't know what to do. And they revert back to what they were doing long before they had those lessons anyway. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to build self-sufficient pitchers, throwers to be successful in competitive game situations. We're trying to make sure that the warm-up they do in EPD is the warm-up they do before they pitch. The recovery they do in EPD is the recovery they do after they pitch. So everything remains consistent. So when they're doing their winter training program and they go into the season, it's basically a very seamless transition versus having two completely different settings for that athlete, if that makes sense.
This is a long way from a 30-minute lesson. For those guys listening who run facilities, and right now they're probably doing a lot of lessons, and then they're doing camps, right? Kind of traditional camps with a bunch of kids in there. What does this actually, from a nuts and bolts standpoint, what does it look like? I mean, is this something where when mom and dad sign their kid up, are they signing up for a 3-month commitment to go through this whole plan? Is it a year-long commitment? or is it? Are they? I'm assuming they're not paying per visit. Like, and then when they arrive, is it? Hey, all the pitchers in the EPD arrive at the same time and go through the work together, or do they just come and go on their own, like at any time they want? What's the nuts and bolts of this look like?
I mean, a lot of them come and go, as they please, so like the college guys, or, we got some minor guys that are involved with the program right now that, they come in, between lunchtime and, 3:00, and then, the high school guys kind of come in after. A lot of them come in small groups, or guys that they've been doing it together. It is a year-round program. Things have a tendency to drop off a little bit in the summer, as far as like how many times the guys come in, and a lot of times it's kind of around their summer schedule, and they'll come in on a Monday for an arm care day, and then, maybe a Tuesday, Wednesday, we'll kind of have like a spot spin, either like flat ground or modified pen or low intensity bullpen, just to kind of, sharpen some things up, or, whatever, to get ready for the next weekend. But I would say that typically guys, stay in it and do something all year round. It's a monthly fee. So that's kind of how that works, and it's $225 a month. It ends up being cheaper than our private lessons are, and they can come in as many times a week as they want, and there's always something to do. I mean, heck, they can throw a full bullpen, on a Monday, and then Tuesday after school they're coming in for a workout, some med ball drills, and kind of get stretched back out again. So, regardless of what they did the day before, there's always something for them to do.
Even if they only came once a week at $225 a month, that's less than a private lesson.
Absolutely. True. And we tell them, we set them up. The ones that are very, very busy, there is a once a week price that's even less than $225, believe it or not. So, we make sure that they're getting bang for their buck. But, if you're that student that can come 3 to 4 times a week at $225 a month, I mean, you're robbing us blind. But we don't care. We're in it for you guys, and we want them to come as often as possible.
I've had a handful of guys who run facilities, and it's more of a group training or membership style of setup.
Yeah, sure.
And it just seems like a no-brainer. But I also see a lot of guys who can't make that transition. I know if somebody's listened to every episode, they've probably heard me say this 1,000 times. So forgive me for that, but it's just I can't wrap my head around the folks who don't want to make that transition to the group training and or the membership style of
right.
of setting your kids up on a membership like a Gold's Gym does.
We fought it for years. We did traditional lessons for, oh my gosh, 5 or 6 years, more, 7 or 8 years. I don't even know how long it's been. And it just gets to the point where you can't take any more clients. Then you start doing 2-on-1s. And at the end of the day, you're sitting there looking at each other going, are we really doing what's best for these kids' growth and development? With a 30-minute pitching lesson, and they come in, we play catch for 2 minutes, they get on the mound, I flip them a couple balls, kick your leg kick, throw it here, throw it there, good curveball, okay, cool, see you next week. And the answer is no.
Yeah.
And the answer is no. So in the best way possible to, really help our kids grow pitching-wise, really help them grow baseball-wise, really have the time to sit down and explain, their mechanics in and out, their drill work in and out, have a full comprehensive, warm-up, arm care routine, drill routine. I mean, I'm not even talking about, pitch design or anything like that yet. You can't do it in 30 minutes. Yeah. You just can't. And you talk to anybody playing at a high level, 30 minutes once a week, it's not enough.
So you've convinced me. You've convinced me, and probably convinced coaches that are listening from a training standpoint. Now, give me the sales pitch on the financials, because I know a lot of guys are scared to make the switch because they don't want to go out of business, right? Because they can't help anybody if they're out of business. Now, where did you see it go when you made that turn from the individual lessons to this kind of group training model?
How did it work financially for us? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, well, you're not out of business, so
Sure,
I know that. That's a spoiler alert.
No, we're not out of business. When we switched to that model, we attracted a lot more people because of bang for your buck, and they get so much more than your traditional 30-minute pitching lesson. And a 30-minute lesson and our a $45, $50. Some people charge more, for 30 minutes. So what we're doing, a lot of it is cheaper than what they get, and they get so much more from a baseball development standpoint. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Well, I mean, even on the hitting side, we've done it on the hitting side, and our lead hitting instructor he's killing it. I mean, he's got 5 to 6 kids in one class. They're paying $175 for an hour hitting session a week. There's 5 kids in that class. He's doing pretty well. Instead of working with one kid for $45 for a half hour, now he gets to work with 5 to 6 kids. They like it. They're staying in the class longer because they get to compete against each other in everything they do. They're not just learning how to swing. They're learning how to compete against one another. They're hitting off a high-velocity machine with different pitches. They're doing their swing design. It's
to hit
so
off
much
our
more
arms
comprehensive. Yeah, when our arms are ready to roll, we throw them in live settings as well.
Yeah,
so, it builds a competitive environment for these boys, and they crave coming in. Instead of, I got to go do another hitting lesson, another 30-minute session where I get to hit 5 balls off the tee, a couple balls in BP, and then it's over. No, this is, I get to go, compete against my best friend and see if I can hit it harder than him tonight. And that drives these kids to come in.
We built our facility for it. I mean, there's a lot of facilities in the West that are, heck, big and beautiful and massive and, whatever else. Our place isn't necessarily like that. We're a nitty-gritty, full of the newest technology. But we're a baseball facility. We build cages you can go live in. Our cages are wide. Our cages are high. You can comfortably have a pitcher, catcher, hitter, taking live at bats and not worrying about hitting the side net with the bat or, being able to get out of the way or trying to, change their delivery so they don't, run off the mound and go on the side. They're plenty big for that. We designed it that way on purpose.
Yeah.
You can't play real baseball inside, but we like to think that we can do it, as close as you're going to get.
Yeah, this stuff just interests me so much because we're all in the baseball world, but we are also all entrepreneurs, and it just all I'm thinking when I'm thinking about this group training model is now all of a sudden you're not trading hours for dollars, and you're able to impact more players at a lower cost while making more money. I'm like, it's so brilliant. It's so brilliant. You need fewer coaches and can impact more players. I mean, it's
absolutely.
Listen, if we haven't, at least made you curious about introducing the concept in your facility, I don't know what else we have to do.
It's the way to go.
Baseball baseball has 2 different camps, right? It's got the because I did it this way 15 years ago because I was taught this way, this is how we're going to do it. And then it has the progressive camp of, okay, we're going to try something new. We're going to do something different. We're going to go outside the box. And you're seeing more and more every day, the guys that are willing to be open and make changes and do things that might be a little bit scary, a little bit different. They're really, really starting to move forward in this game. And that old school mentality of, this is the way I did it, this is the way we're going to do it. Those guys they're starting to have to change their philosophies and mindsets to continue to grow in the baseball business. And that's what we've had to do.
Pretty good transition. I know you guys got all the toys, whether that be the Rapsodo stuff, or any of the other pieces of tech, besides that, or maybe in addition to that, what are y'all playing with right now as far as the things you're integrating into your training with your pitchers or your hitters?
Yeah, well, on the hitting side, Todd mentioned we can't play a full game in here. The facility's not big enough, but you can essentially stretch the facility into a field with technology with the Rhapsody hitting. Our hitting coach can set that Rhapsody up, and every ball those boys hit, they see how hard they hit it. They see the spin on the ball. They also see where it landed on a baseball field. They see the distance. So essentially you can play a game on a field inside, just by looking at the iPad versus actually having that whole field, if that makes sense.
They also use Blast.
You got got Blast going too, huh?
Mm-hmm.
We do. And on the pitching side, we use Rhapsody a ton. I mean, we use it in all of our bullpens, all of our pitch design sessions. Always, there's one thing to be, working on a pitch or a field or a spin or whatever, when you can add the technology into it and really see, what it does and what you have to do to make it do what you want it to do. And I mean, it also shows you where your pitches and stack up with, what a big league and college pitchers, have, and it gives you a better idea of what pitches you should be throwing based on some of the metrics that it spits out to you. And it's just, it's really crazy where baseball's coming out of technology. But, heck, we've had the Rhapsody pitching unit since it came out. As soon as it came out on the market, we were waiting for it. How long did we wait for that first unit? 3 or 4 months, maybe. And they were back ordered.
You were itching. You were itching to get it. What's
we were using it ever since.
Well, for somebody who's maybe on the fence, they haven't been able to to pull the trigger yet. What's that? Maybe 1 or 2 things where you
Sure.
tend to go back to all the time that seems to help a lot of your players. Like one example of just an easy use case, maybe for both of those things, for the Rhapsody and for the Blast.
Well,
guys throwing the wrong pitch.
Wait,
yeah,
for the pitching unit, it's guys throwing the wrong pitch. Or guys throwing a pitch. Well, here's my curveball, or here's my slider. Well, here's the data, man. It's the same pitch. One's just 2 miles an hour faster. To be paired with your over the top 4-seam fastball, it should really be a curveball that goes down, and not the slider that goes across or whatever. I mean, there's so many kids that come in thinking they're one thing and then looking at the data and realizing there's something different. And it just tells you how to best utilize what you have. It takes the guesswork out of it.
That is so interesting. And with hard data, I often think that we fall in love with a certain type of pitch, and then when in reality, it might be a curveball guy who might be best served going to his changeup in that situation. But
sure.
Coach is in love with the old number 2, so we keep calling that.
Well, I mean, you go across big league baseball, and the percentage of curveballs is going down. I think it's like, they're around 12 or 13 or 11% of the time or something like that, and sliders going up, and it's more of a slider usually fits the guy's arm slot more. That's a 3/4 or a low 3/4 guy versus a guy that's throwing a true 12-6 overhand curveball has to be a high 3/4 over the top guy. There's just not as many of those anymore. So
you have a kid come in
throw.
Go ahead, Todd.
Dictate, your pitches.
Yeah, I mean, you have a kid come in who, is told by his high school coach or his little league coach, keep the ball down. He'll get yelled at if he gets the ball up in the zone, but it turns out he's a higher spin rate guy on Rhapsody, who needs to throw his 4-seam up in the zone. If he throws his 4-seam down in the zone, it's going to get hit. So it's going to stay up longer. Or, those kids who are told to throw 2-seamers because they quote unquote move more. I mean, when you get certain pitches on Rhapsody, you start to see how the movement actually affects the pitch, how the spin affects the pitch, and you can really tell these kids, you can give them a real life, reason for why they should throw what you want them to throw versus, just some anecdotal reason of, oh, well, this pitch moves more. Whereas you don't really know if it does or not until you get it on the Rhapsody and you see how the ball's moving, the type of spin that they're putting on the ball, what it's doing.
This is fascinating.
Well, and pitch calling. I'm not a big pitch caller. I let the pitchers and catchers call their own game, but it gives them some info as to what to go on. Which is a huge help I see with guys using it in the college game, of knowing what that are calling pitches on a regular basis, knowing where their pitchers' stuff is the most effective.
Right.
It's huge.
Recruiting wise, you have coaches now not only asking for velocity of your arms, they want to know their Rhapsody numbers as well. So if you're trying to help these kids, get to school and you don't have the data that these college coaches want, it's not going to be easy.
It's fascinating, especially when you think back to just a few years ago when many of the college programs didn't even know what their own guys' metrics were. Now they do, and so that gives them baselines, and they can extrapolate. Hey, what's this high school guy, and how is he going to project compared to the guys that we have that we like?
For sure.
What's one or two things you're doing on the hitting side, utilizing that blast motion? This is, by the way, if Blast or Rhapsody is listening, please enjoy these commercials and feel free to send in a donation for the sponsored spot. What's tell me on the hitting side? Just one thing or two things from Blast.
That's all you can.
Yeah, so
I stay away from the hitter.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when Blast first came out, we were quick to get it. It kind of helps our players see swing changes they need to make and reasons for why they need to make them, instead of just telling them that we think it looks better. When you're talking about the power scores on there and the rotation scores on there, it's really cool. We'll take a kid who we think's a good hitter and he'll have a poor rotation score on Blast. That instantly tells us, okay, now we need to kind of design a plan, to get him to rotate better, to get him to rotate faster, to get him to use his lower body better. Something we never would have known if we didn't have that metric. It kind of answers a question for us. Why can't this kid who we think is a good hitter, has a good eye, has a good approach, why can't he hit the ball as hard as, player B? And, that gives us that reason. On the Rhapsody side, our hitting coaches, I mean, they use it religiously. They use it with 10-year-olds. They use it with the college guys. I mean, it's a cool toy for the kids to get to use. It's cool for a 11-year-old to see his exit velocity go from 65 to 70 in a couple sessions. It's cool to see him hit the ball, from 180 feet to 210 feet. It gives them something to chase. It gives them something to compete for. It also, with the spin on the Rhapsody, it tells them if they hit the ball well, if they clip the ball, if they, hit the top of the ball, if they hit the bottom of the ball, if they hit it square, all that stuff. It just kind of takes the guesswork and the eye test, which means us in our facility, we are not big on the eye test at all. Unless I see it on a gun, unless I see it on a unit, I'm not going to believe it. And, that's just the way the game's moving. And we've got to stay up with the current trends of hitting, which it's tech driven. And in order for us to make our hitters as good as we can, we've got to stay there.
That's cool. I like that. Especially with those younger guys from a point of competition more than anything. They can, I mean, they know who they're chasing, and they can try and keep up with those best players. Now, it looks like I'm back on the website. It looks like, and I think you mentioned it before, you guys have your own in-house sports performance strength and conditioning guy, right?
We do.
But and I think most of us are familiar with what that looks like and feels like. But you guys have also just implemented, or I don't know if that's the right word, or provided access to your players for an app called Interpro Sports. I actually met the founders recently. I saw them at a banquet this winter, and just saw them recently down at the ABCA. Can you describe what Interpro Sports is, and talk about how your players have been using it and the success you've been seeing? You probably know way more about it than I do, so I'm gonna let you take the mic on that.
Interpro is an app that you put your personal information in, your height, your weight, your position, whatever it may be. You put your goals in, bigger, stronger, faster, again, whatever it may be, and based on the equipment that you have to utilize for that specific day, and as well as where you are in your training program, it spits out a workout for you. And so where it's really helped us and we've kind of integrated it with Cam, who does our in-house, strength training. The biggest benefit that I've seen is you click on it, you open up your app, you pitch, we're down in, whatever, up in Iowa or wherever we are and playing in a tournament, and, you're at the field and it's time to do your workout. So you open up your app, so you tell it that you pitched yesterday. So, and you have at the field, you have, a set of J-bands, a couple medicine balls and a set of 5-pound dumbbells. It'll spit out a workout that has all that stuff that's designed for what you need that day. Or you're at the hotel gym and you have a rack of dumbbells and a treadmill. It'll spit out a workout that, for that day. So it's kind of, taking what we've done, what Cam does with them, in-house, and made it to where it doesn't have to stop when we're on the road and we're playing and when high school season starts and all of that stuff. So it's fantastic.
That sounds pretty cool. And I've met the founders. They're good people. They're athletes. And I know other organizations that have provided it for all their players as well. I'm guessing, is this something you're providing access just at the older age groups, or does it go all the way down, and how young?
They all have access to it.
Do
12s and up, I believe. David?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Are you as the coach, are you able to kind of go behind the player and say, I'm assuming maybe there's is there a dashboard or something that tells you who's using it, who's not?
Yes, absolutely.
Talk about that piece from an accountability standpoint.
Sure. Give me one sec. Yeah, it's pretty cool because Eric gives us a login, I guess, as coaches, to where we can see, it's a coach's dashboard, to where we can see who's using the program, how often they're using it, what they're doing with it.
How long they were logged into it.
Right, yeah, the accountability aspect is huge. I mean, I had to jump a kid the other day as I got on there and saw that, he hadn't used it in a week. And I said, man, unless you have the flu, I'm not really sure why you haven't been using your app that your mom and dad paid for.
Mm-hmm.
So it just kind of makes sure that we can stay on them. I mean, they're kids and they need to be motivated and pushed a little bit. And, I feel like that's our job as their coaches and, as their role models, to make sure that they're doing, what they need to do to get their bodies prepared for the season.
This piece of it, that accountability might be the most important part of any of these apps or widgets or pieces of technology. It's mom and dad come to you and say, "Oh, why isn't my kid playing?" Well, here's some data. Here's why.
Yep.
Little Johnny doesn't seem like he's improving. Well, he's not seeing gains because, look, he hasn't logged into this app. And, oh, by the way, he's taken, 1,000 less swings than the next kid over. And we have that in hard data thanks to Interpro's app and because of the Blast player profile. We literally know how many swings your kid took, right? And now all of a sudden, for you guys, it's really nice because it takes a little bit of the weight off your shoulders where how it is in youth sports. Mom and dad think there's politics, and generally the politics is you like to play the kids who are going to win the games at the youth level. That's politics. But now you have a way where it's a little bit off your shoulders and say, hey, listen, here's the dashboards. Your kid's either not working or he's not or he is working, and here it is for you to see. And I think that is maybe the coolest aspect of this whole thing. Because listen, at the end of the day, if you're swinging the bat every single day, guess how you get better? That's it. That's the secret. Go out there and do the work.
Right.
How do you get bigger, faster, stronger? It's like you go do the exercises. That's how.
There's no shortcut.
That's how it works.
when it comes to opportunity, when it comes to playing time, coaches, not just us, coaches are going to give the nod to the players that they see putting in the work. they're going to give that guy the benefit of the doubt. They're going, I mean, if it's between player A and player B, and they're about similar, but player A lives in the facility and player B only comes in for practice once a week, who do you think is going to get that opportunity? I mean, that's simple.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love all that stuff. I think you've described some really useful ways to integrate the technology for these youth players. The Interpro stuff, if you're listening, if coaches are listening, they're interested, I'm on their website right now, interpro.com. The founders are both, they're young guys, they're go-getters, athletes. I think it was Eric played college baseball.
Well, I think one of them was actually a strength coach for the Dodgers for a while.
Yeah, yes.
You're talking background here. I mean, that's the highest level that you can be.
Yes,
you know?
I'm glad you remind me of that. And forgive me, I can't remember his name despite meeting him about 17 different times now.
But I mean, all of their backgrounds in baseball. I mean, Eric came in and showed us the app, showed us how to use it, walked through everything. I mean, really listening to our, concerns of what we needed it to do, and I mean, found the best way to implement it to our players and have them have that tool. I mean, so their knowledge and background in the game, I think, is one of the biggest pieces that makes Interpro what it is, because they know what a grind it is and what it takes and how the workouts have to change and vary and be position specific and so on and so forth. So it's out.
I mean, I just think that it's important for us as coaches to remember what we're not good at and find guys who are good at that and get them integrated. I mean, I just think you get in trouble when you try to cover all the bases yourself, when you try to be a hitting guy, a pitching guy, fielding, strength guy, catching guy.
Yeah.
Let the guys that have a better background in that, who have more knowledge in those areas, bring them in and let them work with your boys, or get an app from them instead of trying to do it all yourself. You can just stretch yourself too thin.
Bingo. Well put. And this all goes to reemphasize the soapbox I've been on, and it's the fact that you're creating more and more value, you're providing more and more value for your players. The days of, here's the uniform, here's the events, and we're placing the players. Those days are gone, because everybody does that. Everybody's got cool uniforms. We all play in equivalent events, and they're all placing players. And so there's got to be the value adds. There's got to be the, whether it's something like an app, or whether it's something like a piece of technology, or whatever it is. Those are the things that are separating organizations from this point moving forward. I'm convinced of that 100%. Well, hey, we've talked for a long time about a bunch of different things, just recruits specific, but I'm kind of curious. I want to pick your brain a little bit about sort of the travel ball in general. And so I'll pose the question that, sort of the generic question I always ask, and I'll let you just run with it in any direction you want. But basically, I'm wondering, what do you see out there, the good, the bad, and the ugly, in the world of travel ball? And when I say the bad and the ugly, we don't need to rag on anybody. I think we all love travel ball, but there's always opportunities for improvement. So I would love to hear, what are those things that are awesome right now? Maybe there's some things locally or regionally that I don't know about on the East Coast, and then what do you wish you saw? Where are those opportunities? So maybe both of y'all can take that question.
Man, there's a lot of good and there's a lot of bad. There's a lot of talented players. I think there's more talented players than I think there's ever been. I don't like that it's, I guess, more spread out than it used to be. But I mean, let's face it, there's more guys and programs and clubs and facilities doing a lot of good training out there, and I think in the whole, it's good for baseball. There's more talent being produced, that's for sure. I think the tournaments are getting a bit more spread out. So us as a coaching staff and recruiting guys have to work harder on a daily basis to get our kids in front of the right schools and figure out different ways and the best ways to do things like that. And obviously, it's just more than just picking the right tournament. It wasn't just because you're signed up for something doesn't mean that the coach from, wherever is going to come see your kids. It's, hours on the phone, sending videos, taking videos, editing film, things of that nature to get, your players' info out there. But, Dave, do you want to talk about P15 a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we, for a good number of years now, have kind of pushed our kids away from the showcase model. We feel like it's a lot of money to get a little video on a showcase website. Maybe there's a couple college coaches there, maybe there's not. You get an empty ranking that really doesn't mean anything. We've really pushed our kids towards going to college camps instead of doing the showcases, whether that's right, wrong, or indifferent. But we were approached by a company, a program called Program 15. They run a Future Stars series. Jeremy Booth is the head guy. He's very involved with Major League Baseball. Was a scout for a number of years, and he has had an initiative over the last few years to, I guess, kind of renovate the showcase model and give value to it. And we decided to give his company a shot over the last couple of years, and we've been very pleased with what they've been able to do for our boys. We've seen more attention from college coaches, for a couple of our guys, from pro scouts, from attending those events. They do a scout day for every partner program. You just get as many guys in your program together, and I mean, they'll bring 5 or 6 guys down with big league experience, and they'll run the kids through a pro style workout. And it's a cool experience for the boys. They get a report written up. They'll email them that report. And it's way more involved than just a video and a ranking. There are no rankings. They're huge on no rankings. But they're way more into player development. Not only will they, have the boys do a workout, they'll work with them on infield stuff. They'll work with them on their throwing. They'll work with them on their crow hop. They'll talk to them about their hitting. So it's kind of, guys giving back to the game that they played and that they loved, and also at the same time setting these kids up with opportunities to get recruited by, organizations or schools that we might not have contact with or we might not know. I think the thing that I like most about them is the summer tournaments that they run. Hands down, bar none, our 15U team is outstanding, and they went down to a tournament last summer in Houston, Texas. It was the P15 national, the national tournament down there, and I've been coaching baseball for 12 to 15 years, and I've never seen a more talented group of 15-year-olds in one setting. I thought our guys were good. I mean, just seeing some of these kids was mind-blowing, and seeing P15's ability to get all this talent in one tournament on one field, when the Arkansas coach, the USC coach, the LSU coaches are there watching these 15-year-olds, it blew my mind. I mean, we're watching kids top 90, 92 on the gun as freshmen. It was an eye-opening experience for me, and it made me want to be a part of it even more, because that's what we want our guys to push and play against the best competition they can possibly play. And P15 giving us that opportunity is huge.
Jeremy Booth is arguably the hardest working dude in baseball, for sure. We've had a bunch of the P15 organizations on the podcast, so it's cool to hear.
Shocking.
Yeah, no kidding. It's cool to hear y'all's experience has been so fantastic. So a couple of the guys I know right off the top of my head, we had Rob Bruno from NorCal.
Yep. Oh yeah.
We had Sean Travers.
Rob's a good dude.
Yeah, we had Sean.
We got to meet Sean in Texas.
Yeah, Sean. So Sean, I don't know exactly what he was with the OBJ with Ontario Blue Jays. He may or may not be full time with P15 right now, because he left OBJ. I think he might be full time, but I'm not 100% sure. But we've had a bunch of the P15 organizations on for sure. And that guy, I mean, if you're not following Jeremy Booth on Twitter, you got to follow him. Not only is he,
right,
flying across the country every single day, working with organizations like the Recruits, but he's also still involved in sort of call it a commentator role with Major League Baseball and with the Houston Astros specifically. So right now, sort of
He's had a lot to talk about recently.
Yeah, I was going to say. So, a lot to talk about. His Twitter feed's definitely a good one to follow.
Yeah.
So
well, it was cool. You know, we saw some lady tried to blow him up, saying that his showcases were a scam, and then he had one of his partner program guys come on and say, "Pretty sure I sent 5 guys to their national event, and they didn't pay a dime." I've never seen a national event invite where players didn't have to pay, and the fact that that's how they do it, I mean, that right there that's gold.
Yeah, good, strong endorsement for Jeremy and for everything he's been building over the last few years. And it's definitely been sort of a grassroots effort, and a lot of sweat equity and hustle on his part, which is pretty awesome. So that's those are a couple of thumbs up. Are there any anything that's sort of a thorn in the side of travel baseball, the opportunity that you think could potentially be fixed?
You know, I mean, I think it's more on the youth end, to be honest. I've got a unique opportunity this year. I get to coach a 12 and under team, the youngest team that I've coached in quite a while. And I kind of saw it this fall. You've got a lot of dads out there that are doing a great job, that are working hard, that are really trying to, build up these good youth teams. But then you just got a couple out there that are focused on winning. And winning at 12U isn't the same as winning at the high school level, isn't the same as being a good high school player. There's things you can do at the younger ages that work now that will not work later. And the worst thing you see right now is these, they call them the 12U AAA major, 13U AAA major teams, chasing trophies, doing everything they can to win games. And it's great then. It's awesome for the kids. Great for the parents, but at the end of the day, no one cares how many games you won at 13. They don't care how many trophies you won, and a lot of the ways that these coaches are winning, it's not conducive to being a good player at the next level. It's just not.
Oh, you see the same pitcher throw 3 games in a row.
Oh,
I mean, it's brutal. Things like that are, are going around. I mean, there's tournament weekends. These kids play so many. Play. You have 10-year-olds playing 6 games in 2 days, and that's more than the big leaguers play.
Oh, I mean, I kid you not. There's a team right now that has been accused of multiple organizations in the St. Louis area of doctoring and shaving their bats. And this was 11U baseball. 11U baseball. This team has been kicked out of numerous tournament companies for accusably shaving and doctoring their bats. I couldn't believe it. I mean, it's just unreal the lengths that some of these guys will go to win a baseball game at this level. And it's just, there's no integrity involved at all.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So, I would love to see these younger teams be more development centered than win trophy centered. And there's a lot of younger teams around this area that I see that are development centered. They're doing a great job. But there's these tournament trophy chasing teams that they need to go if St. Louis travel ball is gonna be quality. I mean, that's just, they're in it for the wrong reasons.
Got it. Anything else? Any other thoughts in that?
No, I mean, there's a lot of good clubs in our area. There's always good teams to play. There's always good competition. We do a deal called St. Louis Scout Games. And it's, we have a team in it. The Naturals have a team in it. That's not true. The Gators have a team in it. The Tigers have a team in it. The Prospects have a team in it. The Pirates have a team in it. The good group of, teams that kind of come together and play each other. And it's a good showing early in the summer for the sophomores and juniors and, things like that. It's fortunate. It's fortunate in that realm that there's so much going on in our area. Unfortunately, there are some, groups, coaches, whatever, that, are going to do things for, selfish reasons for themselves to, win trophies or so on and so forth versus,
in this
developing
scenario,
players. But
in the St. Louis Scout Games scenario, the kids win. You got the 6 or 7 top organizations in St. Louis teaming together, putting their egos aside and saying, okay, we're all going to play at one neutral site. We're all going to play each other, and we're going to play in front of as many coaches as we can bring. And, I had our 16s last year in the inaugural scout games. And you got Fred Coral from Mizzou sitting up there watching my guys play. You got, Keith Gutton from Missouri State. There were 10 Division I coaches watching our 16-year-olds play because they knew that if they went to those games, they would see the top talent in the area in one place. And that's all of us getting together and saying, okay, look, I don't care, you take my players, I take yours. It's beyond that. We all have quality players. Let's get them as much exposure as possible. Let's put our egos aside. And I think it's fantastic.
That's a model I love. I've been predicting for a few years that the pendulum was going to begin to swing back, where that weekend tournament model, 10 years ago went from 12 teams to now it's 30, 40, 50, 60 teams on just a normal weekend tournament, not even a national tournament. Hey, teams keep signing up. Tournament companies, what are they going to do? Of course, they're going to.
Right.
Hey, I'm not blaming them, but and I'm friends with many of these guys who run these events. They're great events, but from a strategic marketing, the pendulum, as it swings back to a smaller event, you get 6 to 8 to 10 teams all on one field, and you get 6 to 8 to 10 teams of similar players.
Right.
And
now it's a good way to support our college coaches that are in this area.
Yeah, you put them.
We give them an opportunity to see all of our players before we go running off to Atlanta.
Yeah. No, I think that's it's a great model. I think we're seeing more of it each summer. You're going to get a little more bang for your buck versus being in a tournament that same weekend with 50 other teams, where you may run into a team who, they're just not on your level. And now all of a sudden you're scheduled out at some high school 25 miles away, and you play in front of no coaches. So
exactly,
that whole day did not benefit the kids. So that's why I think the pendulum is going to swing back a little bit to the smaller events that are in between those bigger national type events, where the coaches all congregate. They're all going to those events. It's those in-between times when you got to be really smart about what you're doing. Guys, listen, I want to be respectful of your time. I've enjoyed this. I thought this was a really insightful conversation. I love hearing how you're implementing technology, how you're implementing different apps, how you're providing more value for your guys. This was a ton of fun. It was good getting to know you guys a little bit more. Do you have any, parting words of wisdom for the listeners at home?
Just remember that, everybody in this industry is always learning. There's always going to be someone who knows more than you. You might know more than a couple of people, but, at the end of the day, always be striving to learn more and gain as much knowledge as you can. And it's at the end of the day, it's about the kids. It's not about us. We've had our heyday. It's about getting these kids the right instruction, the right motivation to, realize their dreams and play college baseball. That's why, I think the majority of us are in this. And, the last thing we want to do is think we've got all the answers. And we're just, and at the end of the day, we're shortchanging the players. And that's not what we want to do.
Good stuff. David? David, anything to add to that?
Oh, that was David. Todd.
That was David. No, I'm good. He nailed it.
Nailed it.
Tom for having us on the show. We appreciate it.
Got it, man.
Good times.
I appreciate it. I'm gonna be keeping in touch with both you guys. I really enjoyed this talk. We're gonna hopefully have this up in a couple of weeks. I'm gonna volunteer this for you. You guys can always deny any communication from outside coaches, but if coaches are interested in learning more about setting up the group training instead of all the private lessons they're currently doing, I think these would be a good resource. David and Todd could probably kind of walk you through some of that stuff.
Absolutely.
And I know you guys are on Twitter, and I'm going to link to all that stuff in the show notes. So, guys,
Cool.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
Hey,
we appreciate
thanks
it.
for your time, Rich.
You got it. Have a good one.
All right, you too,
Talk to
man.
you soon. Bye.
I'm having so much fun bringing these shows to you each week. If you'd like to recommend a coach for the show, please don't hesitate to shoot me a note at rich@playinschool.com or DM me on Twitter @playinschool. Again, my name is Rich Prado. I'm the founder of Play in School. My goal is to continue to create products and services that add value to you, the travel ball coaches, your players, and their parents. Visit playinschool.com to see some of the ways we're doing that. Or better yet, let's set up a call. Until next time, thank you for listening to Travel Ball Talk.